Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today's Sunday, November 9th, 2025, and it is snowing in Ontario. There's a snowstorm. People are in, well, it's 5 to 15 centimeters, so it'll be a fun kind of snowstorm, but it's already snowing here, and so that's nice. It's a nice way to kind of kick off the back end of this year where it doesn't look like we're going to get an election. So I have a couple of announcements today. We're going to be doing a kitchen table talk at 1 o'clock. I've already sent the email. I think I've sent the email. It should be there. So if you're interested in coming, I'm looking forward to seeing you. And I've released it's very early beta, so you have to help me test this, but I've released a Reddit circa 2008 single submission thing, and it's a link aggregator, but that's what Reddit used to be. And Reddit used to basically be like, hey, this is the link, and then people would discuss it in a threaded conversation, and that was new and groundbreaking in 2008, which is kind of funny. But they got away from the algorithm, and they posted the 2008 algorithm. The 2008 algorithm is publicly available in Reddit source code, and so I took that publicly available algorithm, and I built a website around it, basically, and I hope people use it because it's very, very, I really, really enjoyed that algorithm. But I don't know if the website's going to do okay under actual stress, right? Actual users. And so I'm just having a look. So go check out, it's called linkroll.co. Go check it out, submit something, just anything, doesn't matter. Like X links are the ones that I submit because that's what I'm using to test it. And that's where the news is. There's a couple of other links on there, but yeah, it's interesting. Check it out. Again, I don't know how it's going to do at scale. It may crap out. I don't know, but I think it's a useful tool in the face of censorship. This algorithm doesn't have censorship in the way that the modern algorithms do. It's a very old algorithm. So we'll see how it does. Anyway, that's all the show announcements out of the way. It's snowing. Yep, 50-year mortgage is released in the United States, so that's interesting. It reminds me when Reddit was good, there was a car dealer guy who said if you go to a car dealership and they get out a 4-square box, like run, that's a scam, buddy, and you're getting scammed. You should not do that. And so basically the 50-year mortgage is the same as that 4-square car dealership scam. I'll explain later in the show. Bover has had its trial ended in Denmark. A lot of cows started dying, and so the farmers don't want to use the Bover anymore, which is great. PCR tests are faulty, 86% wrong. Interesting. Musk says AI will be in charge. So, I mean, I'm shocked that Terminator AI chip guy or AI brain chip guy wants to just hand over control of everything to the super smart AIs. The problem is the AI may be super smart. There may be nothing inherently wrong with the AI, although I think there is. But fundamentally, you can have an AI do a really good job at accounting. You can have an AI do a really good job at coding, right? I'm watching the AI do a good job at coding. But I don't think there's a good general AI because the problem is some person with ulterior motives is programming that AI. And so I don't trust any people to program that AI. I'd rather have imperfect people who we can hold accountable with transparent numbers than an AI who you say, I don't know, man, the AI Grok says, so we have to do it. No, I don't think so. It's pretty, that's a hard no for me, Doc. So, but Elon Musk seems pretty comfortable with AI being in charge. That's probably because he's going to be the one programming it. Gavin Newsom's being investigated, according to the press secretary, for election fraud. And the USMCA is looking dicey, says Mark Carney. Yikes, right? So that's not so good. Somebody asks him during the same interaction where he says pipelines are boring, somebody asks him, what do you think about the USMCA being renegotiated? And he says, well, why do you think we're trying to diversify at home so much? Like, why do you think we're trying to protect against the United States? Because maybe they're expecting a rug pull? I don't know. Lots to get to. Let's get to it. Here, first, to start us off today, it's November 9th, so a couple of days until Remembrance Day. And Don Cherry is starting us off with a story from years ago, back when Ron MacLean was not a snake in the grass. Here is Don Cherry on Hockey Night in Canada talking about the importance of wearing a poppy. Here we go.
But he got the poppy. See that little one right there, that pin that you got there too? Mel Price, youngest paratrooper ever in the airborne. I thought 16 years old.
Mel Price is your dear friend and a friend of mine too, from Kingston. Tell us about your granddad.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody should have a poppy. Now, when I see people walking along the streets and I see those old chaps and old ladies out there selling when people walk by, I want to just go up and give them a smack. These are the people that buy these poppies, help the guys in the hospitals and things like that. I'll tell you about my grandfather, Paula Mountain. On my mother's side, Naturally, I guess it would be, wouldn't it? In Vimy Ridge, the greatest battle Canadians ever fought, and when they get blown up, him and Mr. Anderson, I'll never forget my mother telling me when I was a kid, they got blown up, and they came down, and they were all caved in like that, and he had one arm loose, and then Mr. Anderson was over there, and my mother said that the rats came out, and they were chewing at the guys' faces around, and he could grab mud and keep them away all night. And for guys like that, and it finally killed him, crushed all his ribs, buy a poppy. All right, the poppy.
We'll have another Don Cherry moment tomorrow, because I think it's important, right? And Don Cherry got canceled for speaking out against people not respecting the Canadian culture and not wearing a poppy, and he shouldn't have been canceled for that. He got done dirty, man. Anyway, Rachel Thomas. This is weird. Canuck Chick says, F off, November 11th is Remembrance Day. We're not doing the differentiating bullshit anymore. So even conservatives, like, isn't Rachel Thomas conservative? I think she's a conservative, right? She says, today we honor the brave Indigenous men and women who fought in service of Canada during the First World War. Indigenous peoples were not treated as equal citizens and were not required to enlist. Many stepped forward anyway, choosing to defend a country that did not yet recognize their rights. Their courage, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment continue to guide us. Did not yet recognize their rights. Well, like, didn't they live on reserves where they got to self-govern and recognize their rights? Like, I'm getting mixed messages. Anyway, it's interesting. I don't think that we should, in the name of national unity, I don't think we should start splitting hairs and say today is Indigenous Remembrance Day, right? Like, it's a strange thing. We can have Remembrance Day all together, right? This isn't a graduation in Southern America circa 1962 or something like that. Segregation, right? Or circa 2025, again, segregation, except this time that's okay to do because whites did it first against black people, and now black people can have their own graduation ceremonies because whites did that. And it's not racist when the blacks do it, but it was racist when the whites did it. Do I have that right? Is that the right? So it's ridiculous. I'm just making a joke. Okay. Turning Point UK says we can't even... I'm just making a joke about the black and white stuff, but I don't think that we should be separating Remembrance Day for Indigenous veterans, for, black veterans, for Sikh veterans. I don't think we should be separating it all out. I think we should be celebrating the country of Canada standing up for our values on the world stage and the people who represent that action, right? Like we shouldn't be drilling in to say, oh yeah, well this one and this one and this ethnic group and this ethnic group. It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous and it's divisive and it's not necessary. Turning Point UK says we can't even remember our fallen without airport style security. Britain is broken. Metal detectors at the Remembrance Day. Diversity is our strength. So they have it on Remembrance Sunday, right? So that's what is going on there. In Canada, we have it on November 11th. So that's couple of days from now. So pretty wild stuff going on. And it's just the history of lest we forget is being buried. They're hoping we forget because they want us to go to war against Russia. They want us to have bloodlust. They want us to absolutely crave war and feel war is justified. And yeah, we've got to take it to them cardies, right? Right, O'Brien? Right. Lee says 7 police officers outside my church in Tower Hamlets this morning for a Remembrance Day service. A Remembrance Day service. We're talking about elderly veterans, families, kids going to Sunday school, and yet we need a small platoon of police just to keep the peace. Britain was never meant to be a country where you needed officer protection to attend church on Remembrance Sunday. We shouldn't have to live like this. So what's going on there, right? Doesn't that look like downtown Toronto? Couldn't that be a church in downtown Toronto? I think I've seen the same architecture in churches in downtown Toronto. Isn't that weird to have identical architecture like that? Are they echoes or were they built at roughly the same time? Yeah, no. I'm not an architecture guy, just one of those things. Mr. Sunshine Baby yesterday was saying, I can't believe what I'm reading. Today, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party had the opportunity to trigger a snap election. The Bloc proposed amendments. If these amendments passed, then an election would be triggered as the House leader, Stephen McKinnon, considered them a matter of confidence. The NDP, the Bloc, and the Green Party voted to trigger an election. They voted for the amendments. Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives voted against with the Liberals. Weird. So he finishes by saying, I'm baffled, right? Poilievre knew this. Jenny Bryan knew this. His advisors knew this. Yet the CPC chose to vote with the Liberals and keep Mark Carney in office. I'm baffled. right? Okay. Here's Jason Levine. He says, it appears that yesterday all 138 CPC MPs crossed the floor to the LPC. It's being reported that the CPC voted with the LPC against the Bloc, NDP, and Green on a budget amendment that, if passed, would have triggered a snap election. Here is that vote. So, yes. Did it happen? Yes. Right? So the Conservatives voted with the Liberals. Liberals, nay. 168, Conservatives, nay. 138, Bloc, yay. NDP, yay. Green Party, yay. So they had everybody, they had all of the opposition parties who would vote traditionally with the Liberals voting for these amendments, and the Conservatives come to the rescue of the Liberals. Uniparty. Okay, that's just what it is, unfortunately for us. Here is Andrew Lawton. He's talking about the stinker of a budget. And so they were never going to trigger an election, is the point of me telling you that last thing. Budget, stinker of a budget or not, freedom of speech being removed in Canada or not, they were never going to stop any of this. They're all on board. UN 2030 agenda. What's that? Sorry, I haven't read about that. I'm sorry, says Mr. Polyev to Mark Friesen. Here's Andrew Lawton.
This is the federal budget. Remember the federal budget, the one we were asking the Liberals to table in the spring because it's been so long since Canada had one? Well, we finally have it. We have a pretty good sense now of what the government's prioritizing. And remember, this is the Liberal government that has been telling us it is a new government. Gone are the days of Justin Trudeau, gone is the Liberal record, gone is Liberal spending. It's a new government. That's been the claim. But how new is it? Well, Justin Trudeau set a pretty low bar for performance on fiscal issues. He spent more than any prime minister in Canadian history did. And you know what? Mark Carney said he was going to be different. Well, what do we have in that budget, that 406-page federal budget? A deficit of $78 billion. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons, but one of them is the fact that Mark Carney promised it would be a $62 billion deficit. He promised he was going to be fiscally responsible because deficits require government to take out debt. They require governments to spend money that they don't have. And this comes at a cost. In order to make this work, the Liberal government is spending $90 billion in new spending. Now that's an extra $5,400 for every Canadian household. Over the next 5 years, this is an additional $321 billion in new debt. Now, just to put that in perspective, that is double the debt that Justin Trudeau was going to be incurring. So what does this mean for Canadians? What does it mean for taxpayers? What does it mean for your family? Well, for starters, it means we're spending more and more on debt interest. In fact, this year alone, Canada is going to be spending $55 billion just in interest. Now just think of that for a second. That's money we're not spending on anything. That's money we're spending to enrich bankers.
We used to be able to borrow money from the Bank of Canada interest-free, right? Maybe it wasn't the Bank of Canada, but an entity interest-free. And then we didn't anymore. So weird. Here's Candace Malcolm, and she says, Germany Chancellor says no progress on getting Canadian LNG to Germany. I'm shocked, right? I'm not really shocked because it doesn't seem like anybody genuinely actually wants to do this. This would impact the budget in that we would have more money coming in. So there would be money on the positive lines rather than money on the deficit lines, right? Or entries on the deficit lines. So if we could sell our LNG to a customer who wants our LNG, that'd be great, but we just can't. So we don't. And so all of that sits there and no money is made. Here's Mark Carney talking about the USMCA, and he says, she says, is that coming together? And he says, well, why? Not really. Why do you think we're trying to diversify? And that's ridiculous.
So we, and to a lesser extent, somewhat lesser extent, Mexico are in a special position because of what they call USMCA, we call CUSMA. So that negotiation is very important where that goes for obvious reasons.
Are you optimistic we'll retain that privilege?
We'll see. We'll see. We've got some, look, we have some cards, but it's, look, like, there's a reason why
Trump said Zelensky doesn't have any cards. I don't know what cards he thinks we've got. We've got things we've got things people want, except so do other places, and those other places aren't behaving like communist baboons, right? It's ridiculous.
we are very focused on on building here and building out and building and what we can control, because we can influence, but we certainly can't control. So
we can influence the United States, but we can't control them. We have cards to play, but he's not really sure that the USMCA is going to come through. So we're trying to diversify trade to China. Do I have that right? And we're still not going to have any kind of real resolution on the Chinese infiltration and foreign infiltration into our elections because it would probably implicate a lot of people, both provincial, I think, and federal. So yeah, Melissa says, Mark Carney doesn't seem too confident about the upcoming USMCA discussions, but he thinks Canada does have some cards to play. Usually I can kind of suss out. I mean, the other day when Mark Carney was speaking to this same audience and said to that guy, like, you know, Nav, your investments don't have anything to do with oil and gas. I sussed that out, but I have no idea what cards Mark Carney thinks he has to play at this point in time. Like, I couldn't name them. I don't know what kind of leverage Canada has over the United States that Canada wouldn't come off worse if we tried to mess with anything. You know what I'm saying? So, like, full economic lockup. And so if that happens, people won't tolerate it. And how do you, quote, fix it? I don't know. But the people in charge are not trying to fix it. They're trying to pivot away from it and replace it. I don't know how you replace 70 to 90% of our trade. What will happen is businesses will just fail. And then it will be a depression. And that will be bad. And I hope we don't have to go through that. I hope I'm wrong, right? But I don't know what cards he thinks he's got. But any cards that he thinks he's got, not necessarily have a poison pill, but have a potential to trigger a massive reaction from the United States. And I don't think there's anything that we've got them snookered on. They could get a lot of the products we provide them from a lot of other places. And indeed, Trump is making deals, billion-dollar deals, hundreds of billions of dollars of deals with China, with Japan, and he's got leverage to play. I don't know what leverage we've got. The United States is protecting our Arctic because they're like, oh yeah, well, we better, right? I don't know what cards we've got to play. And I'm sorry that I keep repeating it, but it's just one of those things. I just don't see it. And usually I could see these things. I don't see it. So if Carney's got cards, he's keeping it tight to his vest. Maybe they're up his sleeve, right? Is that an ace of spades? Jim McMurtry says, this is our grab bag of governance. What time is it? 17 minutes. Good. Jim McMurtry says, communist playbook, infiltrate positions of power, brainwash the young, destroy Christianity. The Pied Piper of Hamelin, I think, is a warning against communism, against other things too. It's a warning that they'll go after the kids, I think. Do you think it really happened? I think it's just a parable, right? It's a warning, right? Anyway, they go after the kids because the kids are inherent communists, not communist socialists, because they don't pay for anything and they don't understand. They don't have to pay for rent. Their parents do that. They don't have to pay for these things, clothing, all of that stuff. And so when they're being raised, if they don't understand how the world really works, which, I mean, a lot of parents don't understand how the world really works, then it's easy to tell them, oh, you know, everybody's production is equal and incentives don't matter. And, you know, sure, a janitor can make as much as a doctor. That's not going to screw society over. Like, kids are easily led, and that's why they're targeted. And especially kids who don't understand their world. And unfortunately, I think Western society has been kept in arrested development, probably because of the fact that not a lot of people are childless, but the reduction of people having children. I think having kids is like a second puberty. It's like a second, like, you grow up and then you grow up again, right? And not that you can't grow up that way without having kids, but I think that it is part and parcel of this whole arrested development. And so because society doesn't feel, quote, grown up, they don't act grown up. And so they're easily led by people who pretend that they know what's going on, when really they're just saying a script, things that they're told by their globalist masters. Anyway, destroy Christianity and nationalism, bankrupt and ruin society, convince fools that the cure is an all-powerful state, enslavement, feudalism, gulag, mass death, and mass killings. I mean, it seems like a jump from convince fools that the cure-all is a powerful state to mass killings, but it's not that far of a jump. It really doesn't seem like it's that far of a jump. They seem to be quite comfortable with that jump, and they seem to make it regularly in history, and there are many examples. Pol Pot, right? There are a bunch of examples. CTV News says, Ottawa hoping 21st century victory-style homes can help boost supply. right, we've got to build to bring the prices down, but not too far down because we don't want to crash the economy or anything like that. So the whole idea is these drawings will be available for builders, and this will take off 6 months of time because the drawings are basically pre-approved. It's ready to build. You get these drawings in, you get land to build on, and the city or municipality or wherever needs to approve these things will approve it because it's a government drawing, right? And 6 months of work is not nothing, but there are other ways to get homes built. Like the municipalities between the municipalities and the federal, and they're taking $50,000 off, I think. It's $147,000 or something like that. So it's still $100,000 in taxes. Anyway, here's part of the article from CTV published on November 9th. The federal government is hoping its newly finished housing design catalog will help speed up home construction in Canada. Together with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Ottawa has published 50 technical design packages for homes ranging from accessory dwellings to sixplexes and townhomes as part of its housing design catalog. The packages, which are free to download and available online, include architectural and engineered drawings, energy report documents and templates, building performance reports, user guides, and construction estimates. All of these packages provide big head starts to builders looking to put these in our communities. They're kind of ugly. Like if this is a picture of one, it's very pointy and it looks like that siding, right? It's all siding. I don't know if it's a single dwelling or if it's a triplex or what, but it looks very concrete-y, and yeah, I think it's at least two. But again, it looks very postmodern. It could be 6, like 2 on the ground floor, 2 on the middle floor, 2 on the top floor. I could be convinced that it's 6, but it doesn't look great. Like it reminds me of Soviet bloc construction. I don't know. So the idea, we'll get back to this. All the packages provide big head starts. I'm excited to see what users do with the catalog and how they make them their own look and feel. The CMHC says the designs are not automatically pre-approved, but are nearly permit ready. Municipalities, it advertises, are encouraged to streamline the approval process. You would work with a qualified architect and engineer to finish the site, and then you can go ahead and submit, they said. So is this going to help? No. What should they do to fix housing? They should stop the invasion of Canada. They should stop importing people that we can't house because it's an irresponsible policy in the face of a collapsing affordability. Collapsing affordability that collapsed a decade ago, and we keep ignoring it and just continuing to let prices get higher and higher and higher. And that's not very good. Anyway, with that, we've got to say goodbye to the stream. If you want the rest of the show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. I post the whole show after I'm done recording it, but I kill the stream now and then I go finish recording it. So you get it a bit later, but you get the whole show. Anyway, if not, that's okay. We'll catch you